Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. Welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Topper_Talk, and follow our YouTube channel over at Topper Talk Podcast. Share those episodes, send the links to a friend, let more people in Hilltopper Nation know what we're doing, what we're trying to create over here, just information about all of our athletics, our programs, teams, players, coaches, etc. As always, I've got Tyler here with me. Tyler, man, we got a big episode. It feels like it's been a while. You ready to jump back behind the mic?
Yeah, man. I hope everybody had I want to say I hope everybody had a great Christmas and a happy New Year, happy, healthy New Year. Let's get into the episode.
Yeah, we took a little hiatus. It's been 12 days, I think, since we recorded last, which is the longest we've gone without recording since the summer when we both took back-to-back vacations. But it was due, the holidays. Like you said, hope everybody had a great Christmas. A good New Year's, ringing in 24 here. Athletics, as always, still ramping up. Basketball is now kind of in full swing. Football, we just kind of closed the door on that season. Let's talk about our sponsor, and that is the Fireman Moving Company. They are the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you're looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Again, like I always say, I promise you it'll be the best call you make. They're professionals. They helped me move out of the house that we moved out of a few years ago and into this house. The best money we spent, if we ever do have to move for any reason, whether it's in Bowling Green or out of town, they're the first call I'm making. I'm going to let those guys make my life a lot easier, save my back the pain of moving boxes and furniture for an entire day. So give those guys a call. They're great sponsors, great supporters of the podcast. Now, before we jump into the main part of the episode, let's get caught up with our Red Towel wrap-up, which catches us up on any athletics that we've missed since the last time we recorded. So, Tyler, hit us with that Red Towel wrap-up.
All right, so on 12/29, the women's basketball team played West Virginia State and absolutely just boat raced them to a score of 97-39 victory for the Lady Tops. That's awesome. Men's basketball on 12:30, they played Abilene Christian at Diddle Arena and won 86-84 in a Tums tosser. That was a great game to be at. Women's golf, Katie Craig tied for fourth at the Patriot All-American Invitational. And then on New Year's Day, Christian Lander was named to the Conference USA Player of the Week for men's basketball. Once again, that's awesome. That's it for the Red Towel wrap-up. Moff, back to you.
Yeah, I love seeing the women's basketball team get back on a winning track. They've been a little up and down. They've been kind of a second half comeback sort of team this year. They have dealt with some health issues, but I really like the direction, the momentum that they have going in now to conference play real soon. Then obviously men's basketball, we're about to touch on that a lot more, but they had a thrilling win in Diddle, their 7th win in a row to move to 11-3 on the season. And then the GOAT, Katie Craig, she won the Conference USA individual championship last year. And now she's representing WKU now in some, just some all-star type invitational, All-American only type tournaments. And she played really well, tied for 4th, which is awesome, playing against the competition she was playing in. And then Christian Lander, friend of the podcast, was on a couple months ago before the season started. Said he wanted to show, Hilltopper Nation what he could do and step up and be more consistent. And I think we've definitely have seen that from him this year. So really great to see him get that first ever Player of the Week award for himself. He was vital in several games the last few weeks and, definitely hit that game-winning shot against Abilene Christian. We held on for the victory. So congratulations to Christian. We love to see that. Now we're going to jump into our main segment of the episode, which is talking about the transfer portal. We're going to talk about all the players that have entered it, maybe some that have exited it, then talk about the guys that we have just signed during the early National Signing Day period. And then we're going to talk about the WKU basketball team, how they finished non-conference play and how they're looking before we head into Conference USA play that's starting this weekend. So looking at the portal, I think we all know by now that one of my favorite slogans, one of my favorite sayings is the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. In this season, now that the season's ended, is going to be no different. We have been the recipient of far too many great players from the portal, from other teams, other programs, to really have any sort of ill will or spite against players who decide to enter it and just test the waters and see what else is out there for them. So, as we talk about these guys, I just do want to remind everyone that we have no ill will. I think I'm speaking for myself and Tyler that these guys are making decisions that are the best for them. Just for whatever reasons it is, we don't know those reasons, whether it be playing time or just wanting to move closer to family or just whatever it may be. Um, these players are just testing the water, seeing what's out there. Some will leave, some will come back, and I guess some of that's to be determined. The first two we have to talk about is Upton Stout, who had entered the portal. One of our premier defensive players who spent a lot of time this last year injured. Broke his collarbone against Middle Tennessee. Missed, I think, 6 weeks before he came back. And then Caden Veltkamp, obviously the hero of the famous Toastery Bowl, came in relief of Turner Helton, and just threw for 320 plus yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, led us to a 28-point comeback victory. Both of those guys had entered the portal before the bowl game, and since then, with the help of obviously our Red Towel Trust Collective, we are able to retain those guys. They have withdrawn their names from the transfer portal and have announced that they are coming back to Western Kentucky. So again, if you're not on board, if you're not supporting the Red Towel Trust right now, you need to head over to the website, check out those memberships, because everything that they're doing is for the betterment of our athletics programs, our teams, our coaches, and keeping those caliber of players is not an accident. And we've done that several times over the last couple of years. I think Jamarian Sharp a couple of years was in the portal. Austin Reed last year was in the portal. Keeping those guys around. The Malachi Corleys that could have went anywhere last year, we kept him around because we took care of him with our NIL collective. So, Tyler, first, before we jump into everybody else, so mostly guys that are undecided. Tell me what do you think about these two guys that entered the portal and then decide to stay and withdraw from the portal and come back?
I mean, I think it's a big get, especially Upton Stout. He could have went up to Michigan. I think that's a great get to bring him back to the tops. I mean, and Veltkamp, whenever he put his name in the portal and he was like, I'm going to stay for that bowl game, and then came out and just absolutely balled out and impressed everybody on the hill that supports the Hilltoppers. I think getting both of them back is a huge get, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for them two players, man.
Yeah, and then it was really awesome. We talked to Caden, a few days after the bowl game. We had him on and got to talk to him about that game and about the portal and his mindset of it. And, he was undecided. But, we knew that we were going to do everything in our powers to keep him around, to hopefully and potentially be the quarterback of the future. So I'm real excited for both of those guys returning to the program. And quite frankly, they're just going to help us be better in the future for 2024. And hopefully beyond if they so choose. Now, the rest of these guys, I'm just going to run down. They are in alphabetical order. So we have Talik Allen, Denzel Aliyin, Wyatt Anderson, Abdul Latif Adu, Desmond Baker, Bronson Barron, Xavion Capers, Antonio Chata, Wes Dorsey, Tom Ellard, Darian Goodrum, Jimmy Holiday, Aaron Key, Quantavius Leslie, Nolan McCord, Manny Moss, Vinny Murphy, Trey Naughton, Josh Shadipo, Kendrick Simpkins, Amari Smith, Blue Smith, TJ Springer, Josh Stearns, Jared White, and Mason Williams. So a lot of guys have hit the portal. It has now closed as of midnight here Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, as we're recording late Wednesday night. So the portal has closed. We shouldn't see any new entries, until closer to the end of spring ball when the portal reopens. Heading towards the end of spring ball and towards graduation, there will be another period that the portal does open. So I guess, Tyler, tell me your thoughts on, this big batch of guys. It's kind of a mixed bag of, there's some guys that were impact players and made plays for us this year and over the last couple of years. So, what are your thoughts on these guys and, their potential for, possibly leaving the program?
I think the offensive line, if whenever you was reading them down, that was a lot of offensive linemen that started. Quantavious Leslie. I'm trying to look
West Dorsey.
West Dorsey. Yes, that one thing that Western has had the last few years is an offensive line that's played together for so many games, so many years together, and whenever you lose that, that hurts. Jimmy Holiday, he started coming on there towards the end of the season. I hate to see Desmond Baker leave, and Talik Allen and Aaron Key. Tom Eller, that he got screwed, and I hate it for him because he's awesome, and I wish he could stick around. One thing that surprised me was really the Blue Smith and Capers players. Blue Smith, he had a few games earlier on where it seemed like he was going to be a viable target, at least maybe a third receiver, second receiver. And at the Ohio State game, it all just kind of fell apart, and he really didn't see the field much after that. And I know he was hurt there for a few games. But it does suck losing losing some of the skill that we have, especially on, like I said, offensive line, defense. But I think Hilton will bring in some, or we're going to talk about it, some of the players that he has brought in, and I think those are going to fill the gaps where the ones that left, or the holes that the ones that left are going to leave.
Yeah, now just a little bit of a reminder, just because these guys are in the portal doesn't mean that they're all going to leave. And I think, kind of hint, hint, wink, wink, that some of these guys are going to return. I'd almost bank some money on that, behind the scenes, our Red Towel Trust Collective is doing everything in their power to keep guys on this team, especially impactful ones that have already been here on the roster and have started and made plays for us. We're going to try to keep these guys around and not just lose them to somewhere else for reasons that we can control. So, like you said, I do hate to lose, especially some of the offensive line guys, Wes Dorsey, Quintavious Leslie, Vinny Murphy, their status still up in the air, all those guys being starting offensive linemen. Then you got Talik Allen and Kendrick Simpkins, starting defensive backs, which have been really impactful for us. Aaron Key has been a starting linebacker for us, really impactful. Jimmy Holiday, transferred in from Tennessee, really came on in the bowl game. Had a really impressive game there. Made some big clutch catches. Has decided to hit the portal. Now, a few of these guys have committed. Desmond Baker, another impactful linebacker, has committed to Southern Miss. Tom Ellard, like you mentioned, his NCAA eligibility issues. He went down to Northern State and is committed there. We still hope to have him on the podcast, hopefully real soon, now that we got a little bit of clearance with him. Then we got Trey Naughton, a long snapper, who has went to Arizona. So, there's quite a bit of impactful guys on here. Several others who just hadn't had a chance to see the field yet. There's a couple kickers on there, Nolan McCord, Antonio Chata, that just, I guess with Lucas Canario having such a good season, they might just see that, hey, maybe we're not going to get a chance to get out there and kick. I don't know if that's their reasoning for wanting to move on. Then you got Bronson Barron, who came over. We thought we might see more of him. We thought he might be the backup to Austin Reed, and he just kind of got lost in the shuffle behind Turner and Caden. And I think he only saw time in one game, the Ohio State game, and didn't really play a lot. So you hate that for him. Transferring again, like you said, Xavier Capers and Blue Smith. A couple of the other wide receiver transfers that are going to test the waters and see what else is out there. You thought they might have a more of an impact being those P5 guys coming in. Josh Stearns down at the end of this list, younger brother to Jareth, that was a WKU legend and record setter here in 2021 with Bailey Zappi. Not really sure. I don't know if it's depth chart with him. Know he had some injuries last year. I'm not really sure he saw the field at all this year. So if it's playing time, if it's depth chart, whatever it is, I still hate to lose guys. All these guys that are leaving, I'm still going to keep up with them. We talked about the ones that have already committed. The three guys, we're going to keep up with all the rest of these guys, see where they go, and wish them well into their next destination, wherever that may be. So let's get into the flip side of the portal. Is we've had the early National Signing Day period, which was just on the 20th. We've had a few more sprinkle in since then. I'm going to go down the list of the players that have been announced as signees to this 2024 National Signing Day early class. First of all, we have athlete Dallin Ponder, offensive lineman Melvin Collins, defensive lineman Harper Holloman, quarterback Tucker Parks, wide receiver Cameron Flowers, tight end CJ Kiss, wide receiver Jalen Hampton, defensive back Xavier Griffin, offensive lineman Rodney Newsom Jr., defensive lineman, I'm going to butcher this, but Chukwunda Okiki, linebacker Zachary Minnis, offensive lineman Gabe Arnold, linebacker Chandler Matthews, linebacker Miller Malone, wide receiver Damari Jefferson, and defensive back Devontae Matthews. So right now, that's the early signing class. Obviously, there is another signing period in February that we will have for the big National Signing Day. But Tyler, what are your thoughts on this? This early signing class is a pretty healthy one. A lot of good mix of position players in there. What's your thoughts on the signing class?
Well, the early signing class, I was just looking it up. I think we have, I know at least three, maybe four 3-star ranked 3-star recruits, and I tell you, if you can make a 3-star play like a 4-star or a 5-star, they just gotta have that hunger, gotta have that chip on their shoulder. I'll take them over some of the, the higher stars just because, obviously I think the 3-stars kind of want it more. I'm not mad at this list. You look back at some of the people who transferred in from some of like the smaller colleges. We got one, Riley Stevens. He's a punter, redshirt senior. He's played at UCF and Austin Peay. That's some good experience right there. He must know something about Western, because Austin Peay. Let's go Peay. But I think this signing class, the early signing class, is a good mix of freshmen and some transfers, and I'm really excited for what these people are going to bring to the program.
Yeah, and looking at it on 247 Sports, which is who I mainly use for my recruiting information, whether it be signees or portal, whatever. Right now, we have the number 3 signing class in Conference USA, behind Liberty at number 1, then FIU at number 2, and then us and Louisiana Tech and Sam Houston behind us. So, I'm okay with the number 3 signing class. I think, the whole focus of recruiting has really shifted over the last few years as the portal has become just more and more the focus of coaches, and a lot more players going in there looking for more opportunities. So, it used to be you started with the high school and JUCO recruits, and then you filled in with transfer guys. Now you almost kind of start with the transfer portal, you get what you need from there, and then you plug your holes with the high school guys and the JUCO guys. So recruiting has been flipped on its head, but I still do like to see that we have a good, nice, healthy class of signees coming in that hopefully most of them can sit redshirt for a year, get in the system, get in the weight room, build and better their bodies, get them acclimated to just college life and just what it takes to be a Division I athlete before we expect them to just step up and be playmakers on the field hopefully someday, because I think there's a lot of talent in those signees, and that coupled with whatever we may bring in from the portal or keep from leaving our portal, I think hopefully should lead to a lot of success in the future for our football program. Because in Helton we believe the portal giveth, the portal taketh away. There's plenty more to come there. We've not seen a lot of guys come in from the portal, but we've seen a lot going out. But I'm sure that will be changing. As we near spring ball, we'll start to see more announcements on that side of things. So wrapping that up, now we're going to flip over to talking about the WKU basketball team, who has now ended their non-conference schedule with an overall record of 11-3. And we open our Conference USA slate with Liberty this Saturday on January 6th at home at 5 p.m. So it's a new season. We've seen the promo video that just came out yesterday. Steve Luntz talking about, hey, I need everybody. It's a new season. Let's feel diddle. And then our Red Towel Trust Collective again has stepped up to the plate, just like they did during football season, giving away tickets. They're giving away 500 tickets through all their various social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They put a post up there in each of them. If you comment on it, while tickets last, you can get free tickets up to 4. So if you're listening, you might want to jump on that, because they're going to tell you how to get those tickets. We want to make Diddle a home court advantage. I call it that Diddle magic. We've all been there for those big P5 games. The testy Middle Tennessee rivalry games, Marshall games. Just we all know what it's like in there when Diddle's full and loud. It's a home court advantage for the Toppers. So that's what we want to get to, and we're starting it this Saturday. We're trying to pack it out, get as many people as we can in there. We know students are still out on break, so we don't expect a good or great student presence, but that's when we need the rest of the community, all the alum, everybody that's within arm's reach. If you can make it to the game this Saturday, 5 p.m., that's would be a good time to start. And Liberty is a really good opponent, a good first opponent, especially for Conference USA play. One of the favorites here in the conference with us. So let's look back at the non-conference schedule and just the results that we've had. We opened play this season with a win over KWC, 90-64. Then we played Wichita State. We lost to them 71-61. We beat Murray State at Murray 86-81. Then we played Kentucky State. We beat them 95-75. We played Bowling Green. We beat them 72-65. We played Canisius. We lost to them 85-77. Then we played UNC Asheville and lost to them 77-67. We played Campbellsville here at home, beat them 101-77. Played EKU. We beat them 79-69. Played Buffalo, another W, 82-65. Wright State, a win, 91-84. Austin Peay, a win, 65-64. Then Cal Baptist was a win, 73-70. And then Abilene Christian, down to the wire, another victory, 86-84. Like I said, 11-3 in the non-conference portion of the schedule, ending there on a 7-game win streak, which is always good to head into conference play with that kind of momentum. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this 11-3 start to the basketball season? First year coach, a lot of new players. And what do you think is our best win so far this season? And who is our worst loss to of those 3?
Well, I believe they said on Twitter and on the radio that this is the best start to Western's had since the early 2000s. Right? I mean that in and of itself is pretty amazing. I would have figured through all the time, all the seasons that we've had, we may start off a little bit better than 11-3, but I mean, Lutz has his team firing pretty good right now. We'll talk about it later about what impressed me most about this team or what impressed us about this team. Uh, but man, these games have been entertaining. The last few have been tongue tossers, as Randy Lee would call them. But I think the team's headed in the right direction. The worst loss would probably be Canisius, that 85-77 loss to them in the Northern Classic. And I'm gonna say probably our best win. I've been torn between this. It's always good to win a rivalry game, us versus Eastern Kentucky. But I'm going to say the win over Murray State because it was at third place. Um, you know, Murray State's been to the tournament, the last few years. They're always up there. And it was good to knock them off their high horse and show them that, hey, we're back. Get used to it.
Yeah, I think the 11-3 start is impressive. We knew Coach Lutz was coming in with only 4 returning players, brought in nine new scholarship players, and really had to get them to gel quickly and buy into his philosophy, his tough defensive philosophy. You have to play very energetic, and just be focused on the defensive end, or you're not going to be in the game. We saw that very early versus KWC Wichita State. If you had a lapse on defense, or if you came down on offense and took just a poor shot with no passes, this is not hero ball. Not one-on-one ball. Um, you had to play as a team, and that just makes everybody better. I think we saw that since game one. We saw the defensive intensity, and as we've seen the buy-in to that and the communication improve and the fouls stop adding up. We definitely saw that at Murray State. It felt like we were 3-1 behind on the foul calls, and that just leads to free throws for the other team. Obviously, players that we need in the game have to sit out when they accumulate those fouls. So as we've gotten better and just more steady-handed with our defensive intensity and our communication and our rotations, etc., I think we've started to see this team really start to gel and now put together these wins. And a couple of those, like you said, the Abilene Christian game was a close one. The Austin P game came right down to the end, ended with a Jalen Jackson block. So, that's what good teams do. They win those close games. They might not be pretty wins, but better than an ugly loss. As long as it goes in the left-hand column, that's really all that matters. I guess my opinion of the best win so far of this season, yeah, I did like the Murray State win. It's always nice to go um, over to Murray and whip them in their own place. Had been the first time we had won over there in quite a long time, but got to go to that game. That was a good win. But I'm going to go with the Abilene Christian game. I know I think they were 5-7 coming into that game, but they were tough. I mean, they had a couple of good, tough players that made that just a really hard fought battle, that obviously came down to the end. I think that was a good win. I think as this season goes on, we're going to see that that's a good ball club that's only going to get better. And then on the loss side of things, the worst loss, interestingly enough, I think if we had a chance now to go back and play any of these teams, I think we could win, all 3 of them, quite frankly. I think we've gotten better. That Wichita State game was the second game of the season going on the road to a tough environment. They're kind of perennially a good team and have a good home court advantage. They pulled out that win, 71-61. We probably had our worst shooting game in years. We broke the consecutive games with a 3-pointer made. We just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And then kind of the same in that Northern Classic, losing to Canisius and UNC Asheville, again, on the road, neutral sites, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't at Diddle. Just lost games that I feel like we could win now if we had a chance to go back and play him again, which obviously we don't. But I just think the team that we're going to see heading into January, February is not the team from November, December. As they just continue to get better, continue to gel, um, and just get, ramp things up for Conference USA play. So looking at some of our stat leaders so far through non-conference play, our leading scorer is point guard Don McHenry, averaging 14.9 points per game. Then you have Christian Lander behind him at 10.3, Brandon Newman at 9.4 points per game, and Tyrone Marshall at 9.3. Then our leading rebounder is Brandon Newman at 6.4 rebounds per game. Then Babacar Faye at 5.9, and Rodney Howard at 4.6 rebounds per game. Then on the assist side, we have Don McHenry at 2.6 assists per game and Jalen Jackson at 2.5 assists per game. And I think we've all heard the news and now have seen in the last game that he's probably done for the season. Broken foot, hurt his other foot that we would call his good foot because he did have a foot injury coming into the season, missed those first few games, and finally got cleared to play. It had been a nice spark, off the bench. And when he's gotten in the game, his energy and his intensity and defensive pressure has been really appreciated. So we hate to see him go down. But, next man up, that just creates an opportunity for someone else, whether it's, Jack or whomever it may be, Tegan, somebody's going to get more playing time now with Jalen going down. So, Tyler, I'm going to ask, what player or players have stood out to you the most so far through the non-conference schedule?
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say Don McHenry. I think he's played really well. He leads us in points. Another one I'm going to throw out is Brandon Newman. You got a rebounding guard who's 6.4, gets 6.4 rebounds per game, and gives you 9.4 points per game. Another one. I'm glad to see Christian Lander has. It seemed like last year he didn't get really his chance. He's playing 23.8 minutes per game this year, averaging 10.3, like you said. His 3-point percentage is 36.4. Don McHenry is 36.6%. Those are your top two, and your third one is going to be Dante Allen at 34.9. I would have thought Allen's 3-point percentage would have been a little bit higher, but he came in, he posterized that guy when they played out there at Cal Baptist. So I guess one that has surprised me is Babacar. For the big guys, I was thinking maybe Rodney Howard would come in, and I would figured he would get the line share and the minutes he has and the points he has. But I mean, Babacar is coming in. He's giving you 7.7 points per game. He's giving you 5.9 rebounds per game. And his turnovers, him and Rodney are tied at 1.2 per game. And his field goal percentage is 66.2 compared to Rodney's 53.4. Free throw percentage, he's leading Rodney again, 57.9 to 55.6. I mean, Babacar has impressed me. Another one that has, of course, ain't nothing new, Tyrone Marshall. He's coming in. He's getting steals at 1.8. He's actually leading the team at 1.8 steals per game, and blocks 1.4 per game. His field goal percentage 51%. He's 51 even. His free throw also 83.3. He is the, let's see, Falou's 100%. Tegan's 88.9. I mean, really, he's top 4 or 5 on free throw percentage, which, I mean, I would figure some guards would be up there more, I mean, he's beating Lander out. He's beating Brandon Newman out. So, yeah, I mean, this team, I love this team. And we're going to talk about what later, about what here in a few minutes, about what we're seeing and what we like. But I mean, this whole team has really, really impressed me. But I would probably, I've been rambling on. I'd probably say Don McHenry, Tyrone Marshall, Babacar. Those are my three that have impressed me. And Lander, 4. I'm going to stick with 4.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on Don McHenry, number one. Coming into the season, I think nobody really knew who was going to kind of be that alpha dog, that go get a bucket when you need it. We've had that in Davion McKnight the last couple years. Before that, we had Tavion Hollingsworth. We had Justin Johnson before that. We've just been blessed with having players that when you needed a bucket, they could go get a bucket. And I think coming into this year, it was unclear who that was going to be. And Don McHenry has stepped up and been that guy. He's lightning quick. Will get to the hole. Will score. Has a nice little mid range and has now stepped back and started hitting some threes. Had a 30 point game here just a few games ago. Leading us in scoring. He's really impressed me. I'm really glad he's on the team, and I honestly hope we can keep him around. He's got more eligibility after this year. He does have some ties to the staff, so I hope that helps keep him around. With the portal the way it is, I don't want to look too far ahead, but he has impressed me the most. And then a couple guys that I think have benefited the most from the coaching change, the shakeup. Definitely Christian Lander, and then Tyrone Marshall. I mean, I think both of those guys had been rotation pieces. Just spot bench minutes here and there, and it's hard to get a rhythm and show what you can do when you're just coming in for 4 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time, 6 minutes at a time. Tyrone's a starter. His energy is just amazing. Right up there in points per game, steals per game, blocks per game. He's everywhere. He's just always making plays. It doesn't always still show up on the stat sheet, but he's always impacting the game in some way. And then Christian Lander has had now several games where he's been one of our leading scorers. Has just been a very impressive ball handler, shot creator, has made some tough plays down the stretch, particularly the Abilene Christian game, made the game winner. When we talked to him on the podcast earlier this year, he talked about what to step up and show Hilltopper Nation what he could do as a former 5-star recruit who had just kind of been raked over, kind of lost in the shuffle at Indiana, and then transferred here and was kind of in the same situation where he wasn't getting starter minutes. Now he's getting the opportunity, and he's really shining. He's really showing that he's a valuable player and a major contributor to this team. Is going to help us win games going forward. Then Brandon Newman, I know he was kind of looked at as someone who might be somebody who leads us in scoring more times than not this year. He's our third leading scorer right now, so not getting as much from him scoring wise as I thought we would. But that could change. I mean, I think he's taken a good volume of shots. They're just not always falling. But what has most impressed me about him has been his rebounding ability, and I've tweeted it several times from our podcast account. You stole my thunder. Yeah, I'm calling you out. You stole my thunder, but man, Brandon is such a good rebounding guard. He's a big guard, and I like when those guys crash the board, secure that rebound, get it to our point guards, and let them get the ball up the floor. And then you talked about Babacar Faye. He's from game one. I think he came in versus KWC. I think he played like 8 minutes and had something like 9 or 10 rebounds and 12 points or something. Just a crazy stat line for only playing a handful of minutes. He's kind of been another one of those just kind of surprising. I don't want to say energy guys, but he always is near the ball. He's kind of like that linebacker that's always in on a gang tackle. He's always near the ball. If something comes off the rim, if he gets his hand on it, he's going to get that rebound. And then he's going to go back up and put that ball up. So, those guys have really impressed me so far this year. And I can't wait to see, their continued growth and development as we now head into Conference USA play. Well, Tyler, what about this team as a whole has most impressed you the most so far through non-conference play?
Defense. I feel like during the Stansbury era, especially last year, I feel like the defense was relaxed, and I feel like these people are actually playing team ball, not just as you call it hero ball. it's good to see the ball get passed around and look for the easy shot or the best shot, not just someone coming down, dribbling out the shot clock and then throwing up a ill-advised shot with 5 seconds left to go or 6 seconds. But no, I think defense intensity has really impressed me this non-con season. And post game when you listen to Coach Lutz talk, he was like, he says we shouldn't have won that game. If we win, he says we probably shouldn't have won that game. And I like that he don't rest on the win or rest on his laurels, as some people would say. I'm just glad that he's always wanting more and expecting more from his players. I feel like in the past maybe that had been overlooked. I'm looking at you, Sharp. You 7-something, you was getting out rebounded by everybody. But I'm glad that Lutz wants and expects more out of his team than what he's getting, even in a victory.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I mean, the defensive intensity of this team has been noticed since game one. Right out the gate versus KWC and Wichita, and into the other games as well. Our defensive intensity and rotations and just being there, having a hand up, on shooters, disrupting passing lanes, tying up people, has been a breath of fresh air. Has really been something we hadn't seen and had, in Diddle since probably the Felton days. It had been a long time since we've had a team that was that dialed in defensively. Now there's lapses. Any team that is that defensively focused, it takes discipline to just not get lost on the court, not get caught watching the ball, staying with your man, rotation, switches, etc. It can be tough, and that's where the communication part of the team comes in, and just being able to talk to each other on the court, make sure you know what your defensive assignments are, whether you're zone, man to man, whatever it is. But definitely the defensive intensity has impressed me the most so far this season. And a good way that I look at it is I think both offensively and defensively, I think the best is still yet to come for this basketball team. I think we haven't played our best offensive basketball. I think most of the time we take good shots. It's not a lot of time we're taking bad shots, because if we were, Lutz is hooking you out the game and letting you hear about it walking back to your seat on the bench. And then defensively, as we've gotten better and more cohesive and more disciplined, and learn to defend without fouling, and just kind of putting us behind the 8 ball with fouls and the other team getting free shots at the free throw line. I think as we've gotten better in those areas, when we've really buckled down and been tight defensively, we've seen stretches of game where we've pulled away or come back from a deficit and just have been really impressive. And those stretches are getting more and more consistent as this season goes along. So, like I said, I think our best is yet to come, both offensively and defensively, for this team as we head into Conference USA play. Now, Tyler, what do you think needs to improve with this basketball team as conference play starts?
All right, one thing, in the past few years, Stansbury prided himself on this. We shoot more free throws than the opposing team even, attempts, or we make more. Right now, our free throw percentage for the team is 68.6. I would like to see that greatly improve. And our 3-point percentage is 30.2%. I would like to see that bump up, maybe 33. But I mean, and also big men, Brand Newman is leading team in rebound at 6.4 per game. And I'm with you. I like that. I like an aggressive guard that will go down and get the rebound, but I also like to see the big guys down there get hungry and want to get the offense and defensive rebounds. I played post myself whenever I was in high school and middle school and all that, and I have a soft spot in my heart for the big guys down low. But I mean, I'd probably say that that free throw percentage definitely needs to increase as conference play starts because I mean, you look at some of the teams we're playing, we're going to get to the free throw line, and you can win or lose a game from that, from making or missing the free throw. So that's why I would say probably be number one to up to forward the conference game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think, now at this point, through 14 games at 11-3, I think there's enough data to say that this team, and not this isn't an indictment by any mean of the roster, but I think it's safe to say that we're not a great shooting team. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's not the end of the world to not be a great shooting team. We saw the 3-point streak end, against Wichita, like we talked about earlier. We've seen other games where we've hit, several in a row. You start to get big eyes, and the hoop looks like it's as big as a hula hoop, and guys are just firing them up all over the place. But I think we need to keep in mind that we're not a great shooting team. We need to take smart shots, take shots in rhythm and within the flow of the offense. And that being said, like you mentioned, the free throw percentage being, south of 70%, which is usually right around where the NCAA average is, right around that 69-70% mark. And we're below that right now. You would like to see us become, a more aggressive team that's getting into the paint, trying to score, drawing some contact, whether it's guards getting in there, the bigs. And if we do that, because we're not a great shooting team, um, we need to be able to go to the free throw line and make more of those. I think several times we've seen, some of the guys on the lower end of the percentages, the Rodney Howards, Enoch Kalambe, just guys that are, at 50% or worse even. Um, it's hard to play those guys in late games in those situations where it's close, where it might come down to a foul and free throw opportunities. You have to strategize for, who those players are that you can count on to go in and make free throws. So I'm right there with you. I mean, I think our shooting is not going to magically, there's no one that's magically going to fix that, and we're not going to become a 45% 3-point shooting team overnight. But I think free throws, kind of being a basketball, 101, anybody can get in the gym and work on that and make north of 70% with enough effort. Um, I think those are definitely things we have to improve upon. I think, we talked about the defensive side of things. I think if we had the same question early in the season, that would have been I guess my main focus of just being more consistent defensively. But I think we've gotten there. We've gotten better. There's lapses, we saw a lapse early, versus Abilene Christian. It just felt like they were hitting everything. And that will happen. But, at the end of the day, we have to buckle down and be, a tough defensive team. And that's going to win us a lot of ball games. I think we said that from very early in this season when we saw the defensive effort from this team. We said, that effort is going to win us a lot of ball games. And I think when we made our preseason prediction, and both of us were predicting us to win north of 20 games, it was hard to see that without knowing a lot of information and data about this team. But now at an 11-3 start, going into conference play, kind of knowing what we have and who we are at this point, I think it's very much in play that we can get to that 20-win mark. So let's talk about the Conference USA slate of games that we have. We have 16 games coming in play. We open this Saturday with Liberty at home. Then we go at Sam Houston. We host Jacksonville State in the Ray Harper revenge game. Then we go at New Mexico State, at UTEP, at home versus FIU, home versus Sam Houston, home versus Middle Tennessee. Then we go to Louisiana Tech, at Jacksonville State, and then we're back at home with UTEP and New Mexico State. And then we go to Middle Tennessee for the 100 Miles of Hate, back at home for Louisiana Tech, and then on the road to end conference play at FIU and at Liberty. So really, no big stretches there. There's a 3-game home and away stretch in there. Pretty, I guess just a pretty general and normal conference schedule. Nothing crazy in there. we've seen the last few years, you've always had travel partners and who you played and where you played, and pretty predictable there. But in this new look CUSA, especially with several new teams, it's kind of hard to have a feel for what conference play may look like. But I really like how this team looks. I like how the schedule shapes up. I hate the only thing I dislike is the 2 road games leading right into the Conference USA tournament. The only thing I dislike. But half the teams are going to end this season on the road, and we just happen to be on that half that ends in the road. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this conference slate of games, and what is your record prediction for this 16-game Conference USA schedule?
Well, I like that we open and close the game or season with Liberty. I really feel like that's probably going to be, like I said, whenever it comes to football, I feel like that's probably going to be our new budding rivalry right there. And football kind of, I had a good time with the Liberty fans. Seriously, do not want to hear that LU in Diddle Arena. That's my sanctuary. Don't bring that garbage in there. Just leave that out at the door. I mean, this new slate of Conference USA teams, Ray Harper, what you're probably going to get with Jacksonville State with them. Florida International, same. Been there. Sometimes been a thorn in our side. Sometimes I ain't. Really, I do like it. I think it's going to be an interesting conference season. I'm with you. I'm not a fan of being on the road those last 2 games before leading up to conference tournament. I would like to have at least one of those at home, preferably the last game, but we do got to make the trip out to Liberty. And I've been thinking about this record this entire episode. I've been over here looking at it, wondering what I was going to say. And it is going to be interesting to see Rawls in the New Mexico State uniform. Of course, that's a whole brand new team after last year's shenanigans, and the team season basically got canceled, so they had to bring in a whole new team for it. See what happens with that. I don't think their season's going as good as they would imagine or like. So yeah, I've really been thinking over this, and I think we're probably going to split with Liberty. So that's 1 game. I feel like we could split with La Tech at La Tech. It's always hard to win on the road. The rest of them, I don't see them giving me much problems. I would like to say 14-2, but I'm going to go 13-3. That's lock it in. Hopefully they don't come back and bite me in the butt like some of the football takes I had.
They ain't got no ball hawks.
Yeah, I heard about that one. But no, I'm going to say, I say we probably lose 2 in the conference season. At worst, we lose 3. I think we could drop a game that we probably shouldn't. The last few years we have, but I think we'll probably go 14-2, and I'm hoping for 16-0 or 15-1, but I can see us definitely going 14-2, 13-3 at worst, like I said.
Yeah, I wrote you down for 13-3, so that would put us at a 24-6 overall record. And while you were talking about Jordan Rawls in New Mexico State, I looked up his stats. He's playing 29.4 minutes per game. He's averaging 8 points and 2.6 rebounds per game, 4.4 assists per game. So he is their leading assist guy, and leading them in steals with 1.4 steals per game. So playing a lot of minutes, almost 30 minutes a game, 8 points per game. So being impactful over there, that will be fun, to see Jordan back in Diddle, the boomerang transfer that was here, left, came back, left again, kind of the new, how many times can you transfer? How many jerseys can you wear? Collect them all, I guess. But it will be fun to play Jordan. Hopefully he stays off the dating apps when he comes back to Bowling Green. So nothing wild happening in Bowling Green. As far as my conference record prediction as it stands right now, I'm going to go back to kind of an old Rick Stansbury and Ray Harper type motto for this. I think we need to win all of our home games. So of those 16 games, 8 are home, 8 are away. We need to win all the home games. So that's 8 wins. Then I think we need to split, at the worst, split the away game. So we need to win 4, lose 4. So that would put us at 12-4 in the conference schedule at the worst. I think we can do better for sure. But I think, the best teams, the teams that win championships, they win all their home games and they split their road contests. So if we can do that over our last 16 games, not predicting who those 4 losses could be to, but I think we know, who the tough opponents are in this conference. I think we're opening up and ending with Liberty, which is a very tough opponent, just from a resources standpoint, from an overall just athletics budget, who they are, the teams they field, coaching wise, hires they make. They're a good team, good programs, good athletics. It's a tough bookend to start and end with them. Louisiana Tech is going to be tough. New Mexico State should be tough. Middle Tennessee, even though they're having a down year at this point, quite frankly, they've looked awful. But it's a rivalry game. You never know what's going to happen when they come to Diddle or we go to Middle, which is one of my favorite away game trips. Just going there and just handing them L's because it's almost always a guaranteed L. I love wearing red in there. I swear. I'm going to Toots. I'm getting fried pickles before the game, and then I'm going to go to your glass house and hand you an L. It's going to be nice. So I'm going to warm it up, serve it to you warm. So, yeah, I think 12-4 is what we can expect in the conference portion of play. That would put us at 23-7 on the season, which is, obviously, in my opinion, it's good. I know the schedule, we talked about it preseason. Even with Coach Lutz, we talked about the schedule and how it shook out, and isn't as glamorous or as tough or challenging a schedule as maybe we the fans would have liked it to have been. But with the roster turnover, coaching turnover, pre-existing contracts, etc., I think some of those things were unavoidable, and we tried to piece it together to make it as fan and team friendly as possible. And I think coming out of this season, heading into the Conference USA tournament at 23-7 or 24-6, which was your record prediction, now with your at 11-3 and predicting 13-3 at the worst. So I think either one of those would be very, very good and very acceptable ways to head into the Conference USA tournament that is now down in Huntsville. We haven't talked a lot about that, but they did announce that last year. After the conclusion of the tournament being in Frisco, I'm assuming that the curtain is being retired, put away, dusted, laundered, folded, never to be seen again. I don't know if Marshall and UTSA visited it while they were down at the Frisco Bowl last week when Marshall was getting served another nice steamy L from UTSA. I mean, but I thought that was coincidental that they were there. But needless to say, it's very nice that the Conference USA basketball tournament is in Huntsville. That's a nice, easy drive for us. I think Western basketball fans always travel well, especially when it's that close. I plan on going myself. I hope and I think that you will go, if not even for the whole 4-day tournament, as we get into the weekend part of it, as we advance to the championship game, you always kind of see more and more red build up to those championship, that semifinal and championship game. So I'm expecting a good crowd now at the Huntsville location. So it will be fun to be down there, a lot closer than in Frisco. in Texas, former, where CSUSA headquarters are, um, just a lot more fan friendly for more of the conference, than what it used to be with UTEP and UTSA and UNT over there. So I think I would expect just better attendance overall for these games. Better location, whether you like it or not, it's more fan friendly in my opinion. And I think Huntsville's a good city, so really excited for it. Basketball season is here. It's been here. We're now 11-3 through the non-conference. We're going into a new season, Conference USA play. We need to pack Diddle. We need to sell out Diddle. We need to bring that Diddle magic back, and just help this team win a lot more ball games. And we're definitely going to shift some of our focus over to covering the men's basketball and women's basketball side of things now that football is on a game side of things has ended, even though we will still be talking about, recruiting, pro days, NFL draft, just guys that are going through those processes as they look forward to the next chapter of their careers. But from now till, March and April, we're going to be basketball centric, and I can't wait for it because I love being in Diddle. I'm going to be there for every home game, going to make every away game that I can. And like I said, I'm planning on going to the conference tournament down at Huntsville. Can't wait for it. So looking forward to it. Have really enjoyed this episode. It was nice to be back, after a long layoff. Want to kick it over to Tyler, man. Hit us with your final words, if you got any, and take us the heck out of here.
Oh, I got some. I mean, it seemed like Marshall catching strays out here from old Moff himself. But no, I was there at the Abilene Christian game. I showed up. I was listening to the radio. I was a few minutes late to it whenever their player was just draining threes, and I was like, oh crap, here we go again. But see Christian Lander come in and just hit that last second shot, or not last second, but late in the game shot to put us ahead, and then to go down and I was hearing Lutz yell foul whenever I believe everyone in the stadium heard him yell foul whenever they was going back down there and just kind of disrupt their break. That was a great game to be at. But no, this team deserves everyone to come in there and pack out Diddle, like you said, because we've all been there when games are just absolutely full to the rafters, and how loud and how disruptive that can be for opposing teams to come in. I mean, it's an amazing place to be. Ain't no other place I'd rather be than Diddle whenever the fans are into it, loud, stomping, yelling, waving the towels. It's just a great time and a great place to be. I could throw some shade at some Marshall, but that 7-8 record, I believe that what they're at right now, yes, 7-8. That speaks for itself. I'm just gonna let that lay there. I hope everybody comes out and takes advantage of that Red Town Trust deal for at least 500 people for the Liberty game on Saturday, because Liberty is a good team. I was looking at the standings right now. Liberty is behind us at 11-4 record, and La Tech is behind them at 10-5. Then behind them, you got UTEP Miners and Jacksonville at 8-6 and 8-7 respectively. I think Liberty was picked first. They were picked to win Conference USA. So it'd be nice to get an early win under our belt against them. And I think Liberty and La Tech, those I think will split with them. Those are the only two teams that really scare me. But we got to come out. The fans have to do their part and help this team win. We got to give them every advantage we can, whether that's getting underneath the opposing player's skin, messing up a free throw shot, making them miss, or looking the stands whenever the ball's headed right to their face. It'd be really nice to get everybody out there loud, cheering for the Tops, just so we ain't got to hear that LU in Diddle, please. I really don't want to hear that. I heard it during football season. Like I said earlier, Jeremiah, you're awesome. I don't want to hear that, man. No, I think this conference schedule is good. I think it could be challenging, and it's going to set us up for a good conference run, and then hopefully NCAA with the way Lutz has been. I believe, and with the team we got and what they're focusing on, I believe the defense is going to help us in a lot of these games. And I think we're going to just embarrass MTSU. I mean, that's, if anything else, let's go down there, just stomp on them and win the last game against Liberty and go into conference tournament riding high on a win streak. So with that, I will say, Moff, who has it better than us?
There's a thing I like to say in our family, and it's nobody.
Oh, go Tops.
Go Tops, guys. Later.
See you.
Like this.